There are a lot of red flags to look out for, and unfortunately, there's a whole line of business, attorney business, right, that comes and targets people that are injured in collisions. So there are groups of folks, they tend to be big law firms from places like Miami or Chicago or sometimes Minneapolis, that troll headlines. So when they see couple in car wreck, husband dies, in Watertown, South Dakota, or Brookings, South Dakota, or Aberdeen, South Dakota, these firms, these people, they hire people to troll the headlines, to look for these collisions and that kind of thing. And then they research these people, and then they directly contact them. They reach out to them, and then they offer their services. They do it in a really, try to do it in a disarming sort of way, but the reality is that this is some sort of they tend to be huge law firms, hundreds of lawyers, tons of money put into the marketing portion of it, and then you kind of get lost and become just sort of a number, right? Or just another individual that they've signed up. It's a strange practice, but we've been seeing it a lot more lately, particularly with serious crashes, and sometimes when folks unfortunately pass away in a car wreck. Big semi-wrecks, a lot of times our people that contact our office had been contacted by somebody else 2, 3, 4 times. This is bad for a couple of different reasons. One of which is these folks aren't from South Dakota. They're not familiar with South Dakota law. Most of the time, the crashes, the car wrecks, accidents, the injury law, the insurance law is based on South Dakota law. So if you've got somebody from Miami or Chicago, they might know a lot about Florida law, or they might know a lot about Illinois law or New York law, but they don't know anything about South Dakota. They don't know our judges. They don't know our jurors, the folks that are going to eventually decide on the case if it ever comes to that point. So you're not really getting the best representation that particular way. Second, you're getting folks again that where they're seeking you out, right? And you're just kind of a number to them. It's all a money grab or kind of a farming deal. They just want to get as many people collected as possible, settle them as quickly as possible, and be done with you. The third reason is because of the way that the law works is you have to be a South Dakota lawyer to bring a case in South Dakota. And so what ends up happening is these firms will come and they'll find folks, at their weakest moment, right? After a serious crash, after they've lost a loved one, or while they're in the hospital with their husband or their wife or their parent or their child, and these people are getting bombarded by these law firms. While they're trying to manage health care, or they're trying to manage funeral costs, God forbid, or something like that. And these people reach out and contact them. But the reality is they'll get them signed up, they'll do a little bit of work, and then once the negotiations stall or the case stalls, then they have to go hire a South Dakota law firm. So honestly, we get a lot of phone calls from these folks asking us to do the work anyways. So we end up doing the work, and then it becomes this deal about who gets paid and how they get paid instead of us just taking the case from the get-go. And a lot of times, frankly, we have to fix stuff. Again, because they're not following South Dakota law, South Dakota civil procedure. God's honest truth is if it's a South Dakota crash, you're going to probably want a South Dakota attorney.